It's noon here in Vintner City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital. Yes, the Commanders are coming back to RFK Stadium. Well, it'll be a new stadium, trust me. And this is CarEdge Live for Monday, April 28th, Resurrection Day in Washington, D.C., with your hosts, me, Ray, and well, that good-looking young man, Zach. How are you today, handsome?
Either your lighting's off or you sat in the sun for too long. You look red, man. You look like a tomato right now.
I don't know what's I'll lighten up. I don't know what's going on here. I got all the normal lights on, and then maybe it's because of a light-colored shirt that it throws off the iris of the camera.
Today's show, folks, is brought to you by CarEdge.com. We're going to be talking about Lexus and some things going on over at Toyota. But before we do, CarEdge.com, if we can help you out with anything, folks, check it out. And, Dad, every once in a while, you and I get some guests to come on the show.
Yes.
We've got those guests today. I'm going to pull in Armond and Ruben from Nalley, or I don't know. I always mispronounce it. So you guys tell Armond, how do you pronounce it, man?
It's Nalley Lexus, Rob.
Nalley Lexus. I can't embarrass myself too much. Armond, Ruben, thanks for coming on the show. Excited to have a conversation with you. Want to introduce yourselves really quickly to our audience? It's your second time back here on CarEdge Live. I'll queue up some data, and then Pops, you got the first question.
All right. Well, thank you for having us back again. I'm Ruben Santiago, General Manager at Nalley Lexus Roswell.
Yes, my name is Armand. I'm a sales and leasing consultant here at Nalley Lexus Roswell.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys coming on. And I want to start today's conversation here, which is the latest market days supply data we have from Cox Automotive. And I've highlighted there, it comes from April 10th, so about 2 weeks ago here. And you can see the headlines: tariffs trigger surge in March new vehicle sales, inventory levels decline. I want to scroll down here because every single month Cox Automotive gives us this chart, and this chart shows you the days supply of inventory broken down by brand. And so you can see nationwide, Armand, Ruben, and Pops, there is a 70 days supply on April 10th. Now, Cox Automotive has come out and said that that's actually gone down as the month has progressed. But what I really want to hyperfixate on here is the brand that has the lowest days supply, and that would be Lexus. And right after it is Toyota. Pops, I'll queue up the first question for you to ask Armand and Ruben, but I have a sense it has to do with why Lexus is so low on this chart and what's going on.
Well, here's the question. There's never been a bigger softball than I'm about to throw out there. Exactly how far off was that 30-day supply for Lexus at the moment, say, at your store?
Not that far off, only by about 27 days.
Oh, my God.
We have a 3 or 4 day supply of inventory.
Say that again, Ruben, so everyone hears this. At your store, you have a what day supply?
Yeah, we're nipping on a 4-day supply of new car inventory on the ground.
Okay, so 3 of you on this call, I'm going to excuse myself in a moment here. 3 of you on this call have worked in the auto industry either for decades or you're currently active in the auto industry. What the hell does it mean to operate on a 3-day supply? I'm leaving. I'm literally leaving. You guys have this discussion. What do you do when you have a 3-day supply of inventory?
You sell through it quickly because you're not, it'll take you a month to get that car back. So it allows from the dealer's perspective, right? And a lot of the chatter going on now is how aggressive dealers are being. But when you've got a very high demand and a low day supply of anything, the price will obviously drive that transaction. So for the guests walking in the door, and a lot of them are learning that lesson now, take advantage of the cars on the ground because it literally may not be an hour later.
Wow. Armand, as a salesperson, how does that impact your approach?
Well, I mean, you just have to execute. Things have to be organized. You're taking in requests and you're securing allocations down our pipeline. So as a salesman, it makes things very simple and streamlined. It's not as chaotic as it used to be when there are a lot of cars on the ground. We pick a car out, we pick out the color scheme that we want, and we wait for that car to come in, and the guest takes delivery.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, and I think there's only been a few times when I was still active in the business where this situation was similar to this, everything was pre-sold before it hit. So if I'm hearing this correctly, you have some vehicles there for people to drive that might not necessarily be for sale, so that you can utilize those test drives so people can put a deposit on incoming inventory. Is that pretty much the way it's working at the moment?
Yes, sir. That is exactly correct. That is spot on. We test drive the vehicle that they like. So if it's an RX 350, we may have an RX 350 on the ground. It might not be that exact trim. If I have that exact trim, that helps. We test drive that. They get a feel for the car, and then we come back in and we talk about specifics. But our job is to sell what is on the ground. But yeah, of course, that doesn't always happen.
I'm jumping back in because I want to ask a hardball question, man. You gave the softball. I want to ask the hardball. Are we about to go back to seeing additional dealer markups on Lexus and Toyota products? If a Lexus dealership's operating at a 4-day supply, I mean, there's got to be other Lexus dealerships operating in that way too. And back when that was happening, what was this, Ruben, like 2021, 2022? Like, are we on the precipice of that happening again at Lexus for some Lexus customers?
We're there now, Zach. We're there now. We have dealers in my market that are doing that. And we made a decision early on at the beginning of COVID, mid to late 2020, to not do that because consumers have a long memory if you've taken advantage of a situation. And, I've said it before, we are friends and neighbors of these folks. I don't want to be at a restaurant and see Mr. Johnson and hide my head because I hit him for $10,000 of MSRP on that RX hybrid that he wanted. So we're at MSRP, but we're not going to take advantage of people that way.
And we had you all on the show, what was it, maybe 2 months ago now? What's changed in the business over those 2 months? Like, have things gotten, I mean, I don't want to say more negotiable because that seems like that's not the answer, but like help us understand the past 2 months, how things evolved and transpired.
Armand, want me to take that one?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, so to the opening statement, the day supply for us is really shortened because in tandem with the chatter about tariffs, that has sped up people's decision making. And we've had plenty of folks, to Armand's point earlier, that left a deposit on a vehicle, all of a sudden are calling in saying, hey, I know I wanted white, but do you have gray, black, green, silver, red, purple, blue? I'll take whatever you have on the ground to get ahead of this. So it's really thinned out our inventory and added some additional challenges that we may talk about when it comes to used cars, et cetera. But it's really heightened. It's heightened tremendously since we were last on.
Wow. Dad, go for it.
How is this impacting your pre-owned business and how you're approaching potential trade-ins from your customers?
Right, that's a great question. So as these new cars now are going quickly, and the consumers' demand for transportation, if they can't get new, they're going to opt for used. So obviously, like during the pandemic, used demand has heightened tremendously. We the past couple of weeks we're at the sale trying to buy vehicles that we couldn't buy because they were bringing thousands above MMR and in some cases above sticker of the original MSRP. So it's help from the consumer perspective because they're going to get more for their trade than they would have 120 days ago. And where that shakes out in the future, that remains to be seen. But if you've got a trade, it's worth more today than it was beginning of November.
Makes sense. Go for it, Dad. Sorry.
Is the used car manager instructed to just step up because it's obviously it's cheaper to trade a vehicle than it is for them to try and buy a vehicle at the sale, especially at the exaggerated prices that vehicles are going for at the sale at the moment?
He is, but with caution. I always tell them treat this like you would your own checkbook. Just because it's not our money it's not monopoly money. It still is real dollars. If you buy the car at the sale, as you know from previous experience, Ray, you're going to own that vehicle 98, 99, 100% cost to market. But if we can keep that, trading it from the guests in that 93 to 95 range, they've got the green light to go ahead and trade for that vehicle.
I want to pull it back to new cars for a second, Pops, if that's okay, because I want to get a little bit of a temperature check on inventory levels moving forward. What are the expectations you have, Armand and Ruben, of upcoming inventory allocation, things like that? And I asked this question through the lens of, we spoke with one of our Mazda dealer friends, Joe Lewis, who runs a Mazda dealership down in Savannah, Georgia, over at JC Lewis. And he was talking about how he had maybe, 2 months ago, Dad? He had 200 cars on his lot and it was a little oversupplied. And now he's down to about 125. And he wants to really be at closer to like 150 cars on his lot. I know I'm talking about numbers that probably are unfathomable right now with a 4-day supply at your dealership. But what are your expectations moving forward? Our audience might be in the market to purchase a Lexus or Toyota product. So Do you have a light at the end of the tunnel here? More inventory coming? What are your expectations?
There is, pre-COVID, we would run with a 75 to 80-day supply, and that was kind of Lexus guidance. But they want to now play in that 25 to 28-day supply moving forward.
Wow.
Post-COVID. So we're never going to get back to where we were pre-COVID. We won't get back to as low as we were, even though we are now, but long-term, where we were during COVID. But the days from a Lexus perspective of having a gluttoned inventory, those are gone. They learned a lot during that time. You don't have to put as much rebates, incentivized rates, et cetera. You can build a little bit less vehicles, save a little bit more money, and ultimately make more money at the manufacturer and the dealership level.
Is that also happening over on the? That's a car dealership if I've ever heard one. Is that happening over on the Toyota side as well? I imagine the playbook's fairly similar across the two brands. Do you know?
It is. Their day supply is going to creep a little higher than ours, but it's the same objective. Let's keep that day supply lower, turn that inventory, keep the demand high, and not have to incentivize as much.
Wow. Yeah,
I'm gonna ask a question from a dealership perspective. I would think, as a dealer, that you love this new model because of how positively, from your perspective, it must impact profitability for the store. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir. It would be 100% correct.
Man,
it absolutely would be. Hey, listen, these businesses, and most people probably won't understand it, but for every dollar that we generate in gross profit, you're going to keep 6, 7, 8 cents in net profit. So
yes.
There's a lot of dollars turning, but there's not a tremendous amount of margin. So you got to keep that inventory to get ahead of carrying costs. You got to keep that inventory turning.
I got a question for you, Armand. Do you have other friends or peers, people that work in car sales?
Yes, of course. I still have friends that work at Ford. I have a friend that works at GMC. And yeah, of course, we all get to know each other when we work in the same area.
Let's talk about that for a minute here, because I'm going to pull the chart back up. So you just mentioned a brand like Ford, and I don't know if everyone can zone in on it, but Ford's over here with a 99 days supply. Tariffs come, and what does Ford do? They use it as a marketing moment to talk about employee pricing. Yep. Let's spend a second here talking about this, because I think it's good insight for our community. What's going on over at a Ford dealership versus selling cars at a Lexus dealership, where there's maybe a slightly different dynamic. What have you heard, and what's your experience been?
From my experience, I drive past that Ford dealership every now and then, and I see a lot of cars I saw at the beginning of the year. A lot of cars that were still there last year are still on that same lot. A lot of Broncos are still there. A lot of F-250s are still sitting there. Shelby editions, they're just sitting, and they're piling up. I actually used to work for Ford, and there was a time where Broncos would sell, and it was crazy, and they sold over sticker, and I never thought there'd be a time where every single color would just be sitting there for months.
How many of your friends want your job?
Yeah.
I'd say all of them in this car industry.
just curious.
I think this is a really important conversation to have for people. I mean, our audience are people who are A, interested in buying a car, and then B, people who are interested in the automotive industry. And there really is a masterclass playbook here that Toyota and Lexus have run, which the reason I went with scary new data is because, again, for those of you who are interested in buying these cars, if it's been 5 years since you bought your new Lexus, it's a different process today than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they had all the cars on the lot. You had some negotiating leverage. And nowadays, what I'm hearing from you, Ruben and Armand, cars are at MSRP, or if you're going to a dealership that's not necessarily looking out for your best interest, it's going to be over MSRP. And Armand, to your point earlier, you've got test drive cars that are not even necessarily the car you're going to end up getting allocation for. And so it is a scary new world for Toyota and Lexus shoppers relative to the world that they were living in 5 years ago when they purchased vehicles. But it sounds like, Armand, from talking to your friends who also work in sales at other dealerships, you want that traditional car buying, haggling, test drive the exact car. Okay, go buy Ford Bronco Sport, where there might be a 200-day supply instead of a 3-day supply.
Are you experiencing any type of sticker shock from when, let's say, somebody that bought a car 5 years ago comes in today and they go, "Oh, I had no idea they went up this much." Are you hearing any of that?
Sometimes when we come back to the desk, yes, We will see that sometimes with the RX. They're kind of confused. Oh, it went up, but they're not shocked to. It's not like really an objection. It's more of just a statement. And then we just move forward. So, yes, they will. They do make comments about that. That's correct.
Mm, well, it's good from a salesperson and a store manager's position to be in the position that Lexus is in at the moment. And I want to be careful how I phrase this, but I guess we spend our entire careers in the automobile industry just dreaming of days like this. Would that be a somewhat accurate statement?
Not somewhat, it would be spot on. That's the reality. That's the reality.
And that's why I do think it's really important, because we've seen other automakers come out and say that they want to emulate the Toyota and Lexus playbook. There's really a position of strength amongst Toyota and Lexus dealers. And I mean, it even extends beyond just like pricing power. You look at Toyota and Lexus, the integration of like online buying tools is way better than other OEMs. Like there's really a full-on playbook at Toyota and Lexus that's winning versus everyone else. I do want to pull up one thing with regards to pricing, and then I want to talk a little bit about negative equity. We had done a little bit of research here looking at MSRP increases, and I know I'm just covering up Toyota a little bit there, but it's right above my head. We've seen Toyota increase. I don't have Lexus data, but I do have Toyota data. We've seen Toyota increase MSRPs 35% over the past 6 years. And so, Armand, to that question about do customers sometimes get a little bit surprised when they see the prices, when they come into the dealership and ask for that out the door price. Toyota is one of those brands that has increased their MSRPs. Again, I don't have Lexus data, so forgive me for that. But MSRPs have gone up no matter how you slice it and dice it, unless you're like Nissan, only increasing 20% over those 6 years. So that's certainly going to have an impact on some of those customers.
It does. The average transaction price for a Lexus today is $54,000. And that's increased significantly from what it was just back in 2019. But everything else, everything's going up in price. I think Lexus has done a good job at not raising them as much as others, but certainly not as less as others either. But it just goes back to that supply and demand piece. And Zach, just to touch on about other manufacturers trying to take a piece out of their playbook. I think the mistake a lot of OEMs make is they don't listen to the consumer. They don't listen to the guest. If you ask the guest how you want the process to work, they'll tell you. Now, acting upon that's a different story. But even at this dealership here, we adopted one price philosophy back in 2019 for used cars, which has helped us to some degree. People don't want to come spend 2 or 3 hours in a car dealership. Give us a price that's fair for you. Give us a price that's fair for us. Make it as quickly and transparent the process as you possibly can, and we'll be back to see you again soon.
Yeah, makes sense. Go for it, Ted.
Well, I was going to say at the mini store that I used to work at, we had the same process for pre-owned cars. They were one price. And as I used to like to say, for the consumers, it's a wonderful thing in the sense that whether you're a good negotiator or a bad negotiator, it doesn't matter. You're paying the same price, and it shortens the process. And Ruben, you're 100% right, where the manufacturers never really want to listen to what it is that the consumers want. And I'm going to spread this a little larger. I think most dealerships don't want to ask what the consumers want and how it is they want to buy the cars, because most dealerships think they know, and they're the ones that are going to tell the customers how it should be, not listening to the customers trying to tell them how they would like it to be. After all, if the average transaction price at your store or at a Lexus store is $54,000, I don't know, if you're asking somebody to spend that type of money, you might as well do it in a manner that they would enjoy, as opposed to the manner that you would like to impose upon them. Am I wrong?
No, I agree with you. I think what exists in this industry is just we've always done it this way, so we're going to continue to do it this way, and that you'll go by way of a dinosaur if you continue down that road. So you have to constantly recreate yourself along with what the consumer wants.
I used to always say you either adapt or you disappear.
Correct.
I want to ask one more hard-hitting question, then a little bit on negative equity, and then you guys got a car dealership to run, so we want to get out of your hair, and we really appreciate it, coming on the show here. There was an article in the Baltimore Banner, it's a local publication, talking about how The Port of Baltimore becomes car purgatory amid Trump's tariff turmoil. And this whole article, and I was fortunate enough to be referenced in it talking to this journalist, talks about vehicles being held at port. Have either of you gotten any insight from Lexus or Toyota about vehicles being held at port? Is that something that's you've seen happening? I've talked to a few dealers about this. It's been an interesting dynamic.
Nothing that's been tied to a tariff turmoil. It's been, from what we're being told anyway, primarily QC holds that need to be taken care of before the vehicle is released.
Interesting. Yeah, this whole article talks about how they took like a drone and they've been taking videos and photos and tracking how there are more vehicles actually sitting at the Port of Baltimore that are not being distributed out to dealers. And it's interesting because the Cox Automotive data obviously shows, there was over a 10% decline in new car inventory month over month. And so it's an interesting dynamic that there's some journalists doing some research on to try and understand, are cars just sitting there and is there a tariff connection to it? Is it quality control? Is it maybe like if tariffs go away, do they get a rebate? It's an interesting thing. So I wanted to simply ask that. One other point, negative equity. Ruben, last time you were on the show, we asked you the question, what was the largest negative equity you had seen? And I forget the number, and I'm glad I forget the number because I remember being so shocked. What are you guys seeing on the negative equity and financing side with your customers? Anything alarming on that front?
No, we still see it, and we're going to see it for some time because, during COVID, the people that were paying or the clients that were paying over sticker, you got to deal with that at some point, right? So we see it, not as much as we thought we would see, because I think we've had some brand deflection in some cases, but we still see it on a daily basis.
Are any financing hiccups? Like, are banks approving things? Cox, again, has some data that shows credit availability has actually gone up. It's the best since 2022. Is that your experience? Are loans getting approved, or is it kind of tricky to get people financed?
No, not tricky at all. If you've got the income to support it and, a decent credit history, you've got a good shot at getting approved. The lending is not tight whatsoever.
Love it. All right. Well, I can't do the outro because I mispronounced the name of your beautiful town and city. So, Pops, you're doing the outro for these fine gentlemen.
Ruben and Armond from Nalley Lexus in Roswell, Georgia. Thank you both for being here today. We appreciate you taking the time and sharing your insights with us. Likewise. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, gentlemen. And if anyone's interested in working with these guys, just do a quick Google search. It'll pop right up. We'll see you back sometime soon, gents. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, take care.
See you guys.
Always fun having guests on. Hey, you look way less red right now.
The iris in my camera has caught up with who I am once again. I have no idea what goes on with that camera.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I'm glad it's working. Dad, we've had some really thoughtful contributions come through that I want to acknowledge. And I want to pull up Igor's comment here. Zach, vehicles being held at ports is more quantity control for dealer volume and inventory, so it sells with higher profits and sells faster. So again, I was actually interviewed as part of this, journalists' efforts to understand what's going on at the Port of Baltimore with all these vehicles, a growing supply of vehicles sitting there. And that's exactly what I communicated to that journalist, to Hayes here, was I'm pretty sure this is a quantity control management, but it's interesting. I appreciate Ruben sharing that, what's been communicated to him and at the dealer levels, quality control, but there is certainly something going on, at least from what I can see. Dad, let's come back here from Nandish. Thank you, Nandish. We appreciate it. I need to buy a Toyota Sienna. Please guide buy new or old now or in December. New or used now or in December, where I will have money and actually use then. Now I don't need a minivan. Oh, this is a great question. So I don't need it today, which is a better time when don't buy a car when you need to. That's when you can get desperate. What are you thinking, Dad?
We know from just having had this conversation with Ruben that Toyota and Lexus's plans are to keep day supply low, which keeps selling prices high. Are any of these vehicles going to be impacted by tariffs at some point in time? Very well, they could be. So even though December is typically the best time of the year to purchase a new car or even a used car, because dealers and manufacturers are extremely motivated to hit annual sales goals and the incentives are typically the highest, it is hard to project this year because of the tariff turmoil. But we do know, one of the things we do know is that the values of pre-owned cars is skyrocketing at the moment. I don't see how what we're seeing is sustainable for a long period of time. And a long period of time could mean 12, 15, 18 months. Is it sustainable for the next 6, 8, 10 months? Perhaps. It's just really a tough market to predict.
All right. So if you don't need to do it, I actually would sit on the sidelines, because you're buying a new Sienna, you're probably paying MSRP today, you're paying MSRP later on. So I would just kind of hang tight, and maybe we'll see a correction in the used car market. I know everyone's going to hate when I use this word. Maybe we'll see the used car market bubble burst at some point, because right now it certainly feels like a bubble is being built up. So I'd be patient. I'd wait. If you absolutely needed it, maybe take a different approach. From Shannon here. Thank you, Shannon. Always appreciate
good to see you back here.
It's been a minute. Just saying hi. Interesting show today. Yes. Glad I was able to watch live instead of having to watch the replay. We are touched that you're always here, Shannon, and appreciate you sharing this kind of contribution with us. Gilbert was asking, what's the scary Toyota Lexus news? The scary Toyota Lexus news is that they have the lowest supply of inventory in the auto industry. And when you look at it regionally, or you talk to dealers like we just did right there, the numbers at a macro level are totally misleading. It is way more severe, the inventory shortage at that Lexus dealership that we just had on. And you heard directly from Ruben, that's the strategy, is to have fewer cars and more profitability, which, we can't begrudge Toyota or Lexus for making that decision. They make more money that way, but it is something that our community has to understand, is that Toyota and Lexus are not as negotiable as other brands. And I'm give myself an attaboy. I'm glad I asked Armand if he has friends that sell at other dealerships, because they envy him right now. They absolutely envy him.
Oh yeah. Every one of them wants to be him. Every one of them wants to be at the Lexus dealership. The Cox Automotive data indicates or suggests that nationally there is a 30-day supply of Lexus. Well, at Nalley in Roswell, Georgia, it's a 4-day supply. That's a huge difference. So that's scary data.
I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear that this is why we offer car buying services back on CarEdge.com, which are 25% off, the largest discount we have ever offered in company history. And the reason we are doing that is obviously because of the chaos and uncertainty that has been unfolded as a result of the 25% new car tariff for imported vehicles. And so I bring this up because not only if you are in the market for one of these very challenging to negotiate vehicles, or you simply just don't like the idea of having to contact the dealership, locate the vehicle, we do all of that, folks. That is a service we offer back at CarEdge.com, and it's 25% off for the time being through the end of the month. And CarEdge Insights, if you are a do-it-yourselfer, but you want to get some help, some tools, some data, and things like that, that is also 25% off. So please, folks, take advantage of this promotion we have running, and we'll continue to run to try and help our community. From BC Cars, thank you, BC Cars. Just bought a 2019 2.0 Turbo Accord, thanks to y'all. That's beautiful. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. Absolutely love that. We've got here from Rich. Thank you, Rich. Greatly appreciated. Zach, check out the new Slate pickup truck. Very affordable, but mean and lean. We should do a whole episode dedicated to Slate. Honestly, Dad, we've been complaining about affordability for decades, for years. We should do a whole episode about Slate, I think.
I would tell you, just having looked at the pictures and the fact that it's it's basically a plastic vehicle, which is fine.
Yeah.
And it isn't even painted. And it is as bare bones a vehicle as you could ever hope to get. And I need a pickup truck like I need a hole in my head. Okay. But I would buy one of those. It is just, it is such, I love the idea of a vehicle that is changeable. You can add, subtract, whatever it is you want. It comes with very little. It doesn't need paint. Maybe you want to paint it. Maybe you want to wrap it. But for 20 grand, even though I don't need one, I might have to get one. Okay,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think it is such a great idea. We'll see what happens.
again, I think we will do a dedicated episode at some point this week. And heck, we should try and get some of the folks from Slate on the show to talk about how they pursued this strategy, how they're trying to meet the market. We just had a conversation during the show about listening to what your customers want.
Yes.
And there you go. So speaking of listening to what our customers want, Jose, looking on your car service to purchase for me. Awesome. Love that. Hopefully we can help you out. Betty wants to know if there are deals or negotiations on Denali's. I'm going to show one of my favorite pieces of functionality we've built for free into the CarEdge Research Center, Betty. You come on CarEdge.com, you click on Research right here, and then you scroll down to see what others paid. This will open in a new tab, our crowdsourced deals, which also can be filtered by our concierge deals. So you can look at just the transactions that our concierge team has been able to negotiate for customers, or you can look at what the community has submitted in. And I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to do, whoops, give me 1 second, folks. Well, I need to know which Denali, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Denali is like an option on top of a trim. So don't know which Denali we're talking about, but you can see here some of the recent GMC transactions. Here's an example of a Sierra 1500 Denali Ultimate. This was in California back on February 28th. And you can see the savings right there. So use this research tool. Here's a GMC Acadia Denali as well, $3,000 in savings. Use this research tool. It's 100% free. It's a great resource. And hopefully that helps you out, Betty. From Mr. Singh, thank you, Mr. Singh. What is a better long-term buy? A 2023 4Runner TRD Pro or a new 2025 Land Cruiser? Dad, let's do it, man. Let's come back over here. Let's go research.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead. So we're talking about, what was that?
A 2023 4Runner TRD Pro.
Toyota, we're going to do 4Runner. Let's come here. I'm going to go down to cost of ownership. I'm going to click on depreciation. So now we're looking at the depreciation schedule for a Toyota. So it looks like within 2 years, it's still retaining 81.7% of its value. So it's not like these Toyotas depreciate all that much. I'm thinking, considering used car prices are going sky high, I'm thinking, Dad, the new one might make more sense.
At the moment.
Yeah.
But, you know, used car values are going up like a rocket ship.
A 23 4Runner TRD Pro is going to be way expensive right now. It doesn't depreciate that much, and the used car market's going nuts. So I'm going new. If I'm you, Mr. Singh, from Eduardo, Dad. Thank you, Eduardo. I just got a 2025 Honda CR-V Hybrid L for $37,000. Thanks to you guys and all your information. Thank you both. That's fantastic.
Well, yeah, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. That makes us feel really good.
Yeah. And going back to the previous question, as Ruben said, at the sale, they are seeing many vehicles selling for more than as used cars, selling for more at the auctions than the original manufacturer suggested retail price was for those vehicles. So if you can get a 2023 4Runner TRD Pro at a good price, knowing what's going on at the moment, that might be the way to go.
Want to end today's show with some shameless self-promotion, folks? I have a personal YouTube channel here. Just Google my name or YouTube my name, Zach Shefska. Going to be posting some more content soon over on this channel. And yes, there is some old legacy content from me and my dad as well, including we made a video 3 years ago. I made a video 3 years ago showing exactly how much money we've made on YouTube. Go check out my personal channel. It's just my name, Zach Shefska. And again, have some really fun new content coming over there soon. Dad, I'm getting really excited about building out some things over on that channel. Obviously, continuing to do everything we're doing here with CarEdge, but it's really fun to think about some of the stuff that I'll be posting over there, kind of peeling the curtain back on everything that I've learned building this business and trying to get some other people on that channel as well. Maybe you'll even come on that channel.
God knows I'm like horse poop. I'm everywhere these days.
Love it, Pops. Love it. All right, folks, we'll be back tomorrow with more CarEdge Live. I'll be in Las Vegas and you'll be in Ventnor City, New Jersey. I can't wait.
I can't wait because the opening will have to be a little different. Something along the lines of it's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and 9 a.m. in Las Vegas, also known as Lost Wages, Nevada, ladies and gentlemen.
Right on cue, right there. We're back tomorrow, folks. Much love, Pops. I enjoy your ketchup and tomato look today.
I don't know what's going. It's the iris of the camera. I apparent or every time I get loud, all the blood rushes to my head, and just so my mouth will operate correctly. Apparently,
We're back tomorrow, folks. Love you, Dad.
Love you too, handsome. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you here tomorrow.